Have you ever felt like you're living a life others expect without asking if it's what you truly want? How often have you smiled while hurting inside, nodded when your heart screamed no? You're always ready to help, to be the good person, to say yes, but end up the most exhausted, disappointed, and sometimes invisible. Are you living to please others, losing yourself in the process? Stoics don't live this way. They don't act to gain approval or avoid rejection. They act from reason, personal values, and above all, inner peace. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you always seek others' approval, you've surrendered control of your life." That's what we're diving into today. How to stop being a people pleaser and start living true to yourself with the unshakable strength of a Stoic. If you're seeking inner freedom, confidence that doesn't need validation, and a purposeful life, this video is for you. Stay until the end, because what you're about to hear could not only change how you act, it could transform your entire life. If you've ever said yes when you meant no, like this video as a commitment, from today I'll live authentically. And if you want to explore more Stoic insights to grow stronger daily, subscribe to the channel. This is the place for those who want to live deeply, awake, and true. Number 1, accept that you can't please everyone. The sooner you accept this truth, the lighter and freer you'll feel. You can't please everyone. Not because you're not good enough, not hardworking, or insincere. It's simply impossible. Each person has their own perspective, standards, expectations, and definition of good. Trying to mold yourself to every mold means you'll never be yourself. Today, someone calls you too cold. Tomorrow, too sensitive. Today, you help them. Tomorrow, they want more. Living for others' expectations turns you into a mask, temporarily pleasing, but soon you'll forget who you are. Stoics understand this deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Do what's right. The rest, what people think, say, or how they react, is not your concern." This is the core of inner freedom. Focus only on what you control and let go of what you don't. Whether others love or hate you, understand or misunderstand, praise or judge, that's their business. Your business is your actions, motives, and dignity. That's what you guard. Accepting that no one can be universally liked is a hallmark of maturity. It doesn't make you callous. It teaches you your limits and how to live authentically. When you stop chasing approval, you gain true self-respect. Society often teaches that kindness means always saying yes, staying soft, yielding. But Stoicism shows true kindness requires reason and courage. Saying yes to avoid dislike is fear. Helping others while you're drained is self-betrayal. Playing the nice person role abandons your true self. Embracing that no one is obligated to like you, and you're not obligated to make them, reclaims your inner freedom. Don't measure your worth through others' eyes. They don't know your struggles, burdens, or sacrifices. Frankly, most people aren't as focused on you as you think. They're wrestling with their own lives. So why exhaust yourself pleasing them? Everyone wants to be liked, but seeking approval by denying yourself loses both recognition and identity. Instead of asking, "How do I make others like me?" ask, "How do I respect myself in the mirror each morning?" That's the Stoic question, guiding you to strength, resilience, and reality. Living by your values means you don't need to please anyone. Yet, paradoxically, that integrity makes you trustworthy, admirable, and substantial. Not because you pander, but because you're authentic, clear, principled. Stoics don't chase the crowd. They stand firm within it, back straight, gaze steady. Starting today, try this. Before saying yes, pause and ask, am I doing this because I want to or because I'm afraid? If it's fear of dislike, misunderstanding, or judgment, allow yourself a different choice. Begin small, decline an unnecessary meeting, delay a non-urgent text. Say no to a favor you lack energy for. These are your first steps to freedom. If this resonates, if you felt trapped trying to please others, comment with one word: freedom. Share this video with someone stuck in performative kindness. If you seek a space where personal values are honored, where you don't need to strain for acceptance, like this video and subscribe. This is where we learn to live right, not to please the world, but to stay true to ourselves. Number 2, understand the root cause. To stop pleasing others, you must dig deep. Why do you do it in the first place? Don't rush to say you're just kind or caring. Those behaviors may seem positive, but if driven by fear or low self-worth, they're not true kindness. They're a survival strategy, a conditioned reflex often formed in childhood. Perhaps you were praised for obedience, loved for compliance, or felt safe avoiding others' disappointment. Over time, your mind learned to be loved, make others happy, to be accepted, suppress your feelings, to survive, conform, even at your own expense. The problem is, these old beliefs don't vanish as you grow. They morph into unconscious choices, saying yes when exhausted, maintaining draining conversations, clinging to relationships that hollow you out. This isn't kindness, it's a boundary disorder. You live as if others' happiness is your duty, while your emotions must be hidden, repressed, or sacrificed for peace. Stoics reject this way of living. They don't let themselves become victims of emotions or others' influence. Epictetus said, "No one can harm you unless you allow it." This doesn't mean turning cold. It means you have the right and duty to control your reactions. But you can't do that without understanding the root cause. Often it's fear. Fear of abandonment, judgment, rejection, or that living authentically will make others turn away. That's why you stay silent when you want to speak, agree when you should refuse, or tolerate toxic relationships just to avoid upsetting anyone. The more you avoid this fear, the stronger it grows in the shadows. Stoics do the opposite. They face it, name it, and question it head on. Why am I afraid of this? What happens if they're unhappy? Is it as bad as I imagine? Am I confusing being good with harming myself? These questions aren't easy to answer, but the more honest you are, the more you unravel your inner knots. When you realize pleasing others stems not from weakness, but from a learned survival tactic, you can forgive yourself. From that forgiveness, change becomes possible. Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotions, it's about understanding their origins and questioning their validity. Not every feeling is true. Fear of rejection is real, but it doesn't mean you should let it steer your life. Stoicism teaches you to step back from emotions, observing them like clouds passing across the sky. You see them, acknowledge them, but don't become them. You are the sky, not the cloud. As you uncover the root of your people-pleasing, you'll see the solution isn't instantly acting differently. It's healing the false beliefs buried within. It's a long but worthy journey. Each time you dare to be authentic, even slightly, you reprogram yourself. You move from reacting out of fear to acting from personal values. That's the mark of a free mind, a mature soul. This isn't easy. You may feel guilt. Some may say you're not the same, harder to deal with, or less accommodating. But you're not here to be others' backdrop anymore. You're here for a life worth living. If someone can't accept the real you, they never truly loved you. They loved the role you played for them. If your heart stirs reading this, that's a good sign. You're waking up. If you're starting to see why you've lived as a people-pleaser, comment, "I realize." That comment isn't for me. It's your acknowledgement of a mental shift beginning. If this hits home, like the video to remind yourself, I'm on a path to healing and growth. To keep walking this stoic journey towards strength, clarity, and peace, subscribe. Each day will peel back another layer of behavior, emotion, and belief to get closer to your true self. Number 3, identify your values. Once you accept you can't please everyone and understand why you've tried, it's time for the pivotal question. What do you live for? What principles guide your decisions, your yes or no, and what deserves your time and energy? Without a destination, any path can lead you astray. Without clear personal values, you're easily swayed, manipulated by emotions or others' opinions. People pleasers often lack clarity about what they want and who they are. In Stoic philosophy, identifying your values, or virtues, is not theoretical but essential for a principled, purposeful life. Stoics don't chase fleeting happiness or comfort. They live for integrity, courage, temperance, and wisdom, 4 core values guiding every action. Doing what's right isn't always pleasant, but it's right. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do what's just. The rest belongs to nature." Start with a simple yet profound question. What's non-negotiable in my life? Perhaps it's honesty, mutual respect, independence, unconditional family love, or freedom of thought. Sit down and write 3 to 5 things you truly believe form the foundation of the life you want to build. Not what you should believe or society endorses, but what feels right to live by, even without praise. These values are your inner compass. When facing tough choices, ask, does this betray my values? If yes, the answer is no, regardless of others' expectations. People pleasers often live fragmented, as if they're multiple versions, one at work, another at home, yet another with friends. This exhausts you, constantly reshaping yourself to fit context while your inner self grows conflicted. Clear values let you be one person everywhere. You may adjust communication for context, but your values stay fixed. This anchors you in storms and clarifies decisions. Values aren't just what you claim to believe. They're what you're willing to sacrifice for. If you value freedom, but stay in a controlling relationship out of fear, you're not living that value. If you prize honesty but lie to keep peace, it's time to reflect. Stoics judge not by words but by actions, especially how consistently someone lives their claimed values. You can't build a house on crumbling ground, nor a life on vague or borrowed values. With defined values, complex choices simplify. When someone asks you to do something, you don't agonize over their reaction to a refusal. You ask, does this align with my values? If not, saying no isn't selfish, it's right. Living by your values naturally attracts like-minded people and distances those who don't fit. Not because you push them away, but because you stop forcing yourself into their world. If you felt lost, directionless, manipulated, or unsure of boundaries, redefining your core values is the key to reclaiming control of your life. It's not just a mental exercise, but a journey to reconnect with your truest self, buried under busy lives, societal pressures, and unhealthy relationships. Today, carve out time for yourself. No phone, texts, or social media. Just a pen, paper, and the question, what do I truly value most in life? Write without editing or judging. That's you. Not the version you perform for others, but you without fear or the need to be liked. If you've pondered this or are ready to live by your values, comment, I know who I am. That's your first affirmation. If this resonates like the video, it shows me you're here and helps spread meaningful content. If you haven't subscribed, now's the time. Here, you won't be told to live for love. You'll learn to live without betraying yourself. Number 4, set clear boundaries. A core reason people pleasers feel drained and out of control is their lack of clear personal boundaries. They don't know where to draw the line, when to say no, or how to limit others' access to their time, space, and emotions. This not only makes them vulnerable to being taken advantage of, but also erodes their self-respect. It's not always others' intent to overstep. You invite it by not setting protective barriers. No one can safeguard you better than yourself. In Stoic philosophy, inner peace amid a chaotic world is a supreme goal. But peace requires controlling your environment, or at least your reactions to it. Setting boundaries is the most practical way to apply this philosophy to life. Epictetus said, "It's not circumstances that distress people, but their judgments and reactions to them." If you allow others to cross your boundaries repeatedly, it's not entirely their fault. It's a consequence of your lack of clarity, reluctance to speak up, or belief that you don't deserve the respect you give others. Many fear that setting boundaries is selfish, worrying they'll seem uncaring, rigid, or unkind. But here's the truth. Boundaries aren't a lack of kindness. They're the highest form of self-respect. Saying no to what doesn't align frees you to say yes to what matters. Protecting your space lets you show up fully in relationships. You help others from abundance and choice, not exhaustion or obligation. As Seneca wrote, "No one can give you peace but yourself." Setting boundaries doesn't need to be loud or dramatic. No shouting, no anger, no declarations like, "I don't care about your feelings." The calmer you are, the weightier your boundaries. Be clear, consistent, and firm. For example, if you can't take on more work, instead of vague excuses, say, "I don't have the capacity to do this well right now." If someone calls during your downtime, respond, "I'll reply when I can. I prioritize rest after work." Short, clear, respectful, and no apologies for having limits. Effective boundaries require three things: knowing your values, recognizing what feels like a violation, and owning your decisions. No one can do this for you. Don't expect others to intuit your needs. They don't know what's too much unless you communicate. Boundaries don't just shield you from harm, they foster healthier relationships. Those who respect you won't leave because you have standards. Those who do were overdue to go. Without boundaries, you're prone to hurt, victimhood, loss of control, and resentment. With them, you stop guessing others' feelings, reading the room, or sacrificing yourself for false peace. You live like a true adult, accountable, protective of yourself, authentic, and clear. Start by listing recent situations where you felt uneasy or pressured. Ask, what was my boundary here? Did I communicate it? Was I silent to avoid conflict? Step by step, learn to speak up without apology. You'll see boundaries aren't walls that divide. They're bridges connecting you to those who truly understand, while letting others move on. If you're hearing this and feel drained by certain relationships, it's time to redraw your boundaries. Don't wait until you're burned out to voice your needs. Don't wait for pain to realize you've neglected yourself too long. Boundaries don't make you worse, they make you real. If this resonates, if you've silently endured to spare others' feelings, comment, "Enough." That's a reminder. You deserve respect, not because you're perfect, but because you're human. Like the video to support your journey to authenticity. Subscribe to keep receiving content that helps you become stronger, clearer, and more at peace daily. Number 5, learning to say. No word is simpler than no, yet for many it's the hardest to say. Just one word and your heart races, your voice wavers, and your mind scrambles for excuses, softeners, or delays. You know you should refuse, but you don't dare. You feel guilty for not helping. You fear anger, disappointment, or worse, being disliked. So you agree. You say yes when your heart screams no. That's not kindness or goodness. It's fear dressed as agreeableness. In Stoic philosophy, no is a clear expression of inner freedom. Stoics don't let emotions dictate actions or the desire to please others derail their personal values. When you say no consciously, you're not rejecting others. You're choosing yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. It's the rightest thing you can do to live a life you control. As Epictetus said, no one can make you act against reason unless you allow it. Reason is your compass. If a request doesn't align with your energy, principles, or goals, refusing isn't just your right, it's your duty. The problem is, most of us were never taught to say no. As kids, we learned obedience earned praise. As adults, we learned pleasing maintains harmony. Society teaches that goodness means being available, easygoing, open-hearted. When you start saying no, you not only feel you're doing something wrong, you fear losing the nice image others project onto you. But is that image worth keeping if it costs you yourself? Saying no isn't severing ties or being cold. It's a deliberate, reasoned act with boundaries. You don't need long explanations or apologies if the refusal is justified. A concise, "Thanks for the invite, but I can't take on more now," or "I understand this matters to you, but I don't have the mental space for it," is enough. Simple, gentle, firm. The challenge isn't the words, it's the emotions. You fear upsetting others. But remember, you're not responsible for their feelings, just as they're not responsible for your exhaustion. Everyone must manage their own emotions. Saying no doesn't mean you don't care or respect others. It means you care for and respect yourself first. In Stoicism, this is non-negotiable. You can't live virtuously if others' emotions drag you along. Learning to say no is a process. Start small. Decline an unnecessary meeting, unpaid overtime, or draining conversations. Each time you refuse calmly and respectfully, you strengthen your self-respect. You're practicing what Stoics call emotional balance, where emotions or social pressure don't override reason. Another key skill is tolerating discomfort. Saying no feels uneasy at first. You'll worry, stumble, even doubt yourself. Let that feeling come and pass. Don't trade hours of exhaustion for minutes of awkwardness. Remind yourself, you're training a vital muscle, self-mastery. Like gym workouts, persistence builds strength. If you're starting out, prepare sample responses for your common scenarios. This helps you react quickly and stay composed. But true confidence comes not from words, but from your inner state. I know I'm doing right. I don't need to feel guilty for choosing what's best for me. Some won't like you anymore. Some will say you've changed, and that's good. If someone only values you when you always agree, that's not real connection. Saying no reveals which relationships are worth keeping and which are disguised exploitation masked as favors. Those who truly care and respect you will understand and may even learn to set their own boundaries. If you're scared thinking about refusing someone, you're not alone, but you can overcome it. Once you do, the relief and freedom you feel will make you never want to return to your old ways. If you said yes when you meant no, comment, "I understand." That's not a confession. It's the first step to change. If this clarifies things for you, like the video to acknowledge the value you're building for yourself, subscribe to keep receiving content that helps you grow stronger, truer, and more self-mastered each day. Number 6, prioritize your needs. One of the most common mistakes people pleasers make is believing that putting others before themselves is a sign of love, kindness, or nobility. They think sacrifice, endurance, and yielding make them good. But the brutal truth is, this doesn't make you better. It leaves you drained, conflicted, and disconnected from yourself. No one can give endlessly without being refilled. No one can truly care for others if they're neglecting themselves. Prioritizing your needs isn't selfish. It's the foundation of self-awareness and personal responsibility. Stoics don't expect others to care for them, but they also don't do the opposite, deplete themselves to please everyone. They grasp a key principle: you can only control what's within your influence. And the first thing to control is your mind, energy, and time. Prioritizing yourself doesn't mean dismissing others. It's about finding your place in life's balance. If you always put yourself last, don't be surprised when no one else prioritizes you either. Picture an airplane emergency, oxygen masks drop, and flight attendants instruct you to secure yours before helping others. Why? You can't save anyone if you're suffocating. Life works the same way. Saying yes to others while saying no to yourself slowly chokes you. At first, you think you're kind, but over time, you grow irritable, exhausted, and hurt, then start resenting others. Your kindness shifts from genuine to forced, a burden, even conditional endurance. This serves no one, not you nor those you're trying to help. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Love yourself as if you're the only one responsible for your happiness, because you are." This doesn't mean living selfishly only for yourself. It means asking, have I truly listened to my needs? When was the last time I asked, what do I need today? Not what others need from me, but what I need to feel whole, stable, and energized. Maybe it's a quiet morning, a timely meal, uninterrupted rest, or an honest conversation instead of polite small talk. Recognizing and honoring your needs doesn't weaken you. It makes you resilient. True strength lies in self-care before diving into others' needs. You can't love others well if you don't know how to love yourself. You can't be patient with others if you're angry with yourself. You can't inspire if you've lost your spark for life. Caring for your needs is a duty, not just to yourself, but to those you love. Many fear that prioritizing themselves will make others see them as changed, selfish, cold, or uncaring. But you don't owe anyone an explanation for your needs. Maturity begins when you do what's right without needing approval. If you live by others' expectations, you'll never uncover your true desires. If someone can't accept you prioritizing yourself, they likely valued a convenient version of you, not the real you. How to start? Be honest with yourself. Write down what you need this week to feel healthier, clearer, calmer. Maybe sleep, exercise, rest, reading, or stepping back from draining relationships. Then review how much time you spent serving your needs versus others' demands. That's the first step to balance. Remember, if you don't prioritize yourself, you're teaching others you're unimportant. Also, learn to permit yourself rest, refusal, imperfection, and failure without guilt. We're quick to forgive others but harsh on ourselves. Stoics don't chase perfection. They pursue rational progress. They know everyone has limits, and honoring those is part of wise living. That's not weakness. It's emotional intelligence and true compassion. If you've sacrificed too much, neglected your needs to be loved or accepted, pause, breathe deeply, ask, am I truly living or just existing to play the kind person role? If you're feeling the need to return to yourself, comment, I need me too. That's an affirmation you're done dismissing your needs. If this resonates, like the video to nurture yourself with awareness. Subscribe for more messages to live stronger, clearer, and more sustainably each day. Number 7, assess requests. As you learn to set boundaries and prioritize your needs, a vital skill to hone is evaluating others' requests. Not every favor deserves your agreement, nor every expectation your fulfillment. How you respond shapes how others treat you moving forward. If you react impulsively, agreeing out of guilt, fear of judgment, or to avoid conflict, you're letting emotions, not reason, guide your actions. Stoics don't act on impulse. They have principles, an inner compass, and crucially, a pause. The space between stimulus and response is where reason lives. When someone makes a request, instead of nodding hastily, you have the right to pause and ask, is this reasonable? Does it align with my time, energy, values, or goals? Do I truly want to do this? If I agree, am I sacrificing something more important? These simple questions empower you to choose consciously, not automatically. Daily life bombards you with requests from work, family, friends, even strangers. An email asking for assistance, a classmate wanting your notes, a relative expecting a call when you need rest, an invite to an event you're uninterested in. Without clear criteria, you risk reflexive yeses, followed by regret, exhaustion, or silent anger. Stoics avoid this. They treat each request as a test. Is this worth my time and energy? A practical method is to categorize requests into 3 groups: essential, negotiable, and declinable. Essential requests align with your values, benefit you or those you're truly responsible for, and don't harm your mental or physical health. Negotiable ones aren't urgent but feasible if you have spare time and energy. Declinable requests clash with your values, drain too many resources, or you simply don't want to do them, and you're entitled to say no. Not every invitation is a duty. Some are subtle traps to keep you in roles you're trying to shed. Stoics don't fear misunderstanding when declining unfit requests. They don't live to be liked. They live for dignity and self-mastery. Refusing an unreasonable request doesn't make you bad. It shows awareness, boundaries, and emotional restraint. The beauty is, once you act this way, you feel less tired, less anxious, less quietly resentful, because you avoid situations you didn't want in the first place. Practice assessing requests in small scenarios. When someone asks, "Got time this afternoon to help me?" Don't answer instantly. Take a breath and say, "Let me check my schedule. I'll get back to you." Delaying gives you time to reflect and curbs knee-jerk reactions. As you grow comfortable with this pause, you'll find refusing gently, clearly, and guilt-free becomes natural. Another habit to build. Don't over-justify your decisions. Many feel compelled to add, "Sorry, I'm just so tired today. Stayed up late, crazy week." These excuses make you feel small and guilty when you've done nothing wrong. A simple, "I can't take this on right now," or "Thanks for thinking of me, but I'll pass," suffices. Clarity and honesty are Stoic virtues. You don't need to appease with extra reasons. If someone disrespects your choice, that's data on who deserves priority in your life. Interestingly, when you assess requests rationally and decline with reason, others start respecting you more. Not because you please them, but because you're principled. These standards create stability, reliability, and a unique magnetism only authentic people possess. You're no longer always available. You're someone with standards. Manipulators drift away. Those who respect you stay. If you've agreed to something you later regretted due to hasty assent, comment, "I need to pause." That's a reminder you're ready to rethink how you engage with the world. If this clarifies decision-making for you, like the video to help it reach others trapped in performative kindness. Subscribe for more content to live clearer, more rational, and self-mastered each day. Number 8, conflict is not the problem. How many times have you stayed silent to avoid conflict, nodded in agreement just to keep the peace, pretended you weren't upset, angry, or sad, only to dodge tension? For many who live to please others, conflict is taboo, something to avoid at all costs. They equate it with failure, rupture, rejection, or fear of loss. But that's a harmful misconception. Conflict isn't the problem. Avoiding conflict is the real issue. Stoics don't fear conflict. They don't seek it, but they don't flee from it either. They understand life is a meeting of different values, desires, and perspectives. When these clash, conflict is natural. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing with someone, nothing shameful in not meeting their expectations. The truth is, if you always agree to sidestep conflict, you betray yourself daily. You chip away at your soul to fit someone else's mold. You may keep outer peace, but inside you're in turmoil. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Others may act wrongly, but we don't need to follow suit. They may shout, react, or rage, but we can choose a different response. This is Stoicism's core. You can't control others, but you can always control your reaction. When faced with conflict, a Stoic doesn't panic, defend, or run. They observe, analyze, stay calm, and respond with reason. This isn't coldness, it's advanced emotional intelligence. They know intense emotions don't always reflect truth. Avoiding emotions doesn't resolve anything. It only buries conflict until it erupts uncontrollably. When you live true to your values, set boundaries, prioritize your needs, and learn to say no, conflict will arise. Someone might not like you anymore. They might call you difficult, cold, or unapproachable. That doesn't mean you're wrong. It may simply mean you're no longer playing the role they're used to. Change provokes resistance, but conflict doesn't have to lead to ruin. Handled with clarity and integrity, it can spark deeper understanding. It's a chance to show others who you truly are, not someone who smiles to avoid trouble. People who fear conflict often doubt their ability to navigate it calmly and clearly. They dread being hurt, rejected, or seen as bad. But speaking your truth doesn't diminish you. Hiding it shrinks you in your own eyes. Start with small conflicts, a conversation you've avoided, honest feedback you've shied away from, a boundary others have crossed. Practice facing them instead of dodging. The first time will be hard. You'll tremble, feel awkward, or guilty, but you'll realize you didn't die from a candid talk. Your worth didn't vanish because you disagreed. Instead, you'll feel stronger, clearer, freer. True peace doesn't come from everyone being happy. It comes from living authentically and accepting that not everyone will agree with you. That's okay. If a relationship can't handle your honesty, it may lack sincerity from the start. Strong relationships have room for disagreement, as long as both sides respect each other. Stoics train to stand firm in conflict like a sailor steering through a storm. They don't let waves veer them off course. They don't fear the waves because they trust their ability to guide the ship. You can too. Each time you voice your thoughts, say no, or uphold a boundary despite pushback, you build resilience. It's not overnight, but it will happen if you commit to living true to yourself. If you've ever stayed silent to avoid conflict, forced to smile while wanting to cry or speak out, leave a comment. I'm done hiding. It's a declaration, not to the world, but to yourself. If this resonates deeply, like the video to commit to living more authentically, subscribe to keep receiving powerful messages to help you face truth, stand firm, and see that conflict isn't the end. It's the start of true growth. Number 9, avoid making excuses. When you start living authentically, setting boundaries, saying no, and prioritizing your needs, there will be moments when you feel compelled to explain yourself. That's when excuses creep in. You say you're too tired, have something urgent, double booked, or just not feeling great, instead of admitting you simply don't want to. At first glance, this seems harmless. It eases guilt, softens rejection, and keeps the peace. But in truth, making excuses is the most subtle form of self-betrayal. It blurs your boundaries, weakens your decisions, and erodes the clarity of how you live. People pleasers often avoid saying no directly, so they resort to excuses. They fear that a straightforward refusal will label them as selfish, cold, or inconsiderate. They use excuses to mask a truth. They're trying to live true to themselves, but lack the courage to stand firm amid expectations. They don't want to hurt others, yet fail to see they're hurting themselves. Every flimsy justification, every half-truth, is a small cut to your self-respect. It seems minor at first, but over time, you'll live in a gray zone where no one, including you, knows what you truly want. In Stoic philosophy, honesty is foundational, not just with others, but with yourself. Epictetus said, "Nothing is more shameful than self-deception." Stoics don't beat around the bush or make excuses. If they can't do something, they say so. If they don't want to, they're clear. Clarity makes you strong, consistent, and trustworthy. It aligns your thoughts with your actions, the key to a life you can stand in without shame. You don't have to do something just because others expect it. But if you choose to say no, do so clearly without justification. "Thank you for thinking of me, but I'll pass" is enough. You don't need to add, "because I'm tired," "because I'm busy," or "because I'm stressed," if those aren't entirely true. You owe no one an explanation for protecting your time, energy, or mind. When you stop making excuses, you live with sovereignty. You're not led by circumstances or emotions. You know what you're doing and accept the consequences of your choices. Don't misunderstand. This doesn't mean becoming rigid, inflexible, or uncaring. On the contrary, honesty builds healthy relationships. When others know you don't dodge or deflect, your no carries conviction, and your yes holds weight. You're no longer seen as a pushover, but as principled. Clarity is the bedrock of respect in any relationship, family, friends, or work. Excuses also breed a dangerous habit, blaming circumstances. You start pointing to schedules, work, health, or others instead of admitting you don't want to or it's not a fit. Once you're used to excuses, facing the truth feels uncomfortable. You begin to lie, gently without malice, but still lie. That breeds guilt, which quietly chips away at your self-respect. Stoics are the opposite. They don't blame or excuse. They act or don't with clarity. If they're wrong, they own it. If they change their mind, they explain rationally, not emotionally. This transparency makes them reliable and, more importantly, lets them trust themselves. When you ditch excuses, you rebuild inner trust. You don't need to defend or hide. You live at ease with your decisions, knowing they stem from reason, not pressure. To change, observe yourself this week. How many times did you say, "I'm busy," when you just didn't want to? How often did you claim, "I'm tired," to avoid a conversation? How many times did you use an excuse to dodge a responsibility you agreed to? Write down those moments. From now on, try a new approach. Be honest. No long explanations. No excessive apologies. Just affirm that you have the right to say no without lying. If you're reading this and recall a time you made an excuse because you lack the courage to be honest, leave a comment, "I'll be true." No details needed, just a pledge to live clearer. If this hits a part of you that wants to change, like the video as a commitment to yourself. Subscribe to keep joining this journey of living with autonomy, honesty, and strength in the Stoic spirit. No excuses, no self-deception, no hiding from the truth. Number 10, start with small challenges. After everything you've heard in this video, you might feel a bit overwhelmed. So much to change, so much to practice, so many fears to overcome. You want to live authentically, set boundaries, say no, avoid excuses, prioritize your needs, reassess relationships, and handle conflict calmly. But where do you start? The answer is simple. Begin with small challenges. Every big transformation starts with tiny steps. Stoic philosophy doesn't demand grand declarations or overnight reinvention. It encourages daily action, bit by bit, with consistency and clarity. Stoics believe character isn't forged in dramatic moments, but in everyday choices. Marcus Aurelius didn't become a philosopher emperor through one heroic act. He did it by choosing reason, virtue, and discipline daily. You can too. You don't need to be perfect to start. You just need to start. Pick one small habit you do to please others. Maybe it's replying to messages instantly, even when exhausted. Maybe it's agreeing to invitations you don't care for. Maybe it's staying silent when someone upsets you to avoid conflict. Choose one behavior, not everything. Then do it differently. Don't reply right away. Let the message sit. Don't agree instantly. Say, "Thanks, I'll think about it." Don't stay quiet. Say, "That made me uncomfortable, and I'd like to address it gently." At first, it'll feel strange. You might feel guilty or off. That's a good sign. You're stepping out of your old comfort zone. If you stick with this new behavior for days, then weeks, you'll notice a shift. You'll stop being driven by immediate emotions or external expectations. You'll become intentional, not reactive. A simple yet powerful challenge is to say no once a day. It doesn't have to be big. Decline extra food when you're full, skip a call you don't want to take, or stop scrolling social media when you've set a time limit. Each no reinforces that you control your actions, not others' expectations. You'll be surprised to find the world doesn't collapse when you say no. People don't hate you for it. And if someone gets upset over a small refusal, they probably shouldn't have too much sway in your life. Another way to start is a daily Stoic journal. Each night, write 3 things. What you did today to live true to yourself, how you responded to a request, and whether you said no to anything. This builds self-awareness in a chain of positive actions. Reviewing your progress fuels motivation. You'll see your journey, even the smallest changes, and that will deepen your self-trust. Stoics don't measure success by others' approval, but by personal progress. A day where you live by your values, say no despite a shaky voice, or set a small boundary in a conversation, that's a day to be proud of. No applause or awards needed. You know you lived intentionally. Tomorrow you'll do it again. Sustainable change comes from small, repeated, purposeful actions. Don't pressure yourself to be perfectly stoic overnight. What you need is persistence. Someone who speaks truthfully today will be bolder tomorrow. Someone who says no to something small now will stand firm against bigger pressures later. That's how you build resilience. Not in fanfare, but in the quiet daily choices you make. If you're ready to challenge yourself, start today. Pick one thing you do out of fear of displeasing others and do it differently. Just one. Then write down how it felt. It may feel uneasy at first, but the freedom and clarity that follow are priceless. If this sparks a drive to act, leave a comment. I'll start. Don't wait for perfection. Act to grow closer to yourself. If you know someone who needs this push, share this video with them. Like and subscribe if you want more simple yet transformative steps to live quietly, persistently, and rightly. You weren't born to be a shadow of others' expectations. You weren't meant to say yes forever, to always be agreeable, to compromise, or to endure hurt just to keep people around. You were born to live consciously, with value, boundaries, and depth. A life where you can look in the mirror each morning and say, I'm living true to myself. If you've made it this far, you're ready to step out of the role of the good person others want. You've realized you need change, not to become someone else, but to return to your true self. Every step you take, saying no when needed, dropping excuses, facing conflict, prioritizing yourself, evaluating requests rationally, is a sign of awakening. You don't need to be perfect, just real. You don't need everyone's approval, just your own respect. If this video resonates with what you're seeking, like it to fuel your own motivation. Leave a comment sharing your feelings or the challenge you're facing. I'll read everyone. If this is a journey you want to continue, subscribe to the channel. Each day we'll train in calmness, inner strength, and emotional wisdom to live as a stoic in a noisy world. Start with yourself. Start today.